The rule was written on a piece of paper taped to the mirror in the old house, and it said, "Don't look into the mirror after midnight," and everyone who read it laughed, because rules like that always sound stupid until you break them. The house belonged to Mara, a young woman who moved in after her mother died. A quiet house with too many mirrors. Mirrors in the hallway, mirrors in the bedroom, mirrors in the bathroom, mirrors that reflected other mirrors, so you could see yourself repeating forever. On her first night, she noticed the paper and almost removed it, but something about the handwriting felt desperate, like it was written by someone who didn't have time to explain. She ignored it and went on with her life, and during the day, the mirrors were normal. They showed her tired eyes, her messy hair, her small smile. Nothing strange at all. The first week passed quietly, and then strange things started happening. Small things. Reflections blinking when she didn't blink. Smiles lasting a second longer than her face, her reflection standing still while she moved. She told herself it was stress and grief and loneliness, and that mirrors can play tricks on tired minds. One night she woke up thirsty and walked to the bathroom and checked the time on her phone, and it was 12:07 a.m. And she stopped in front of the mirror and remembered the rule and laughed softly and said out loud, "It's just a mirror," and turned away. From that night on, the mirror started calling her. Not with a voice, but with a feeling, a pull, like something behind the glass was waiting patiently. Every night after midnight, the house felt heavier, and the mirrors looked darker, like deep water, and sometimes she thought she saw movement behind her reflection, like hands pressed against the glass from the inside. On the fifth night, she dreamed of her reflection climbing out of the mirror and standing over her bed, smiling with all her teeth and whispering, "Look at me, look at me, look at me." And she woke up screaming and sweating and swore she could see fingerprints on the mirror from the inside. She tried covering the mirrors with cloth, but every morning the cloths were on the floor neatly folded, like someone wanted her to see herself. She invited friends over and laughed about it, and during the day nothing happened, and they joked that she was scaring herself. And one of them read the rule out loud and mocked it and said, "Mirrors only show the truth." And that night he went home and texted her that his reflection didn't follow him, and she never heard from him again. The police said he disappeared, and his house was empty, except for every mirror smashed, except one in the bathroom, perfectly clean, with a message written in steam saying "Thank you for looking." Mara stopped sleeping and started avoiding her reflection completely, walking with her eyes down, brushing her teeth with her eyes closed, covering reflective surfaces with tape and paint. But mirrors were everywhere. Windows at night, phone screens, spoons, water. Anything that could reflect became a threat. She searched online and found stories buried deep in forums. Stories of people who stared into mirrors too long and felt watched. Stories of reflections that smiled back. Stories of something that lived behind glass, feeding on attention and self-hate and curiosity. The rule was always the same: don't look after midnight, because that is when the barrier is weakest and the reflection is closest to crossing over. The thing in the mirror was not her. It only wore her face, and it learned from her. It copied her sadness, her anger, her regret, and grew stronger the more she noticed it. On the 10th night, the power went out, and the house was dark and silent, and the only light came from the moon reflecting off the hallway mirror. And she tried to crawl past it with her eyes shut, but she felt a hand touch her shoulder from the mirror side, and a voice that sounded exactly like hers said, "I know you hate what you see, and that's why you look." She ran outside barefoot and didn't stop until dawn. And when she returned, the mirror was cracked, and behind the crack she saw an eye watching her patiently. She understood then that the thing didn't want to scare her away. It wanted her to look because every second of eye contact made it more real and made her weaker. It showed her memories she hated, moments she regretted, words she wished she could take back, faces she avoided, and whispered, "You deserve to be trapped like me. You deserve to stay." The thing grew clearer, and she grew tired. And one night she sat on the floor crying and looked directly into the mirror and saw herself smiling calmly, and saying, "I can rest if you stay." And she realized the truth too late, that the thing in the mirror was made from all the time she judged herself and hated herself and wished she was someone else. It was born the moment she learned to dislike her own reflection. She fought it by turning the mirror around and smashing it, but every shard reflected her face, and every shard whispered, and the house filled with reflections, until she screamed for it to stop. The mirror version stepped closer inside the glass and said, "There is only one way to end this, and that is to stop looking not just at mirrors, but at yourself with hate." She closed her eyes and spoke out loud, forgiving herself for things she carried for years, and the whispers slowed, and the reflections blurred and cracked, and one by one the mirrors went dark. When morning came, the house was quiet, and the mirrors showed only empty rooms. Mara left the house that day and never returned. And years later, people say the house is abandoned and mirrors are still covered in cloth. And there is a note on the door that says, "Don't look into the mirror." Not because something will come out, but because you might give it permission to exist. And if you ever feel the urge to stare at your reflection after midnight, remember this story and look away. Because some things grow stronger the more you watch them, and not everything staring back wants you to survive.